Hey, Dr. Mike here. Are you wondering if you're taking the best nutrients for you? Genetic testing may help. Stay tuned to learn more with our guest, Michael Willoughby.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. So, Dr. Crystal, what do you think about our topic today, right? Genetic testing to help really lay out what you need to be taking as far as nutrition and nutrients.
Yeah, I'm excited about this emerging field of personalization and personalized nutrition. I would love to see it take hold in the healthcare and for these types of tests to be broadly available, but it's picking up steam. People are interested in knowing what's happening with my genes, and so it's a fascinating area.
Yeah, well, it's definitely growing because our guest, Michael Willoughby, he apparently has all kinds of podcasts today. He's going to be on talking about this stuff. He is the president and founder of Fagron Genomics, previously known as GX Sciences. Michael, you've been in the laboratory, gosh, it says for over 20 years. You've consulted many specialized testing companies, nationally, internationally. It goes on and on and on. Welcome to Live Foreverish.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mike, Dr. Crystal. Good to see you guys, and thank you so much for having me on your show. Personalized medicine is sort of our jam here at Fagron Genomics, so I'm happy to discuss about it and tell you everything we're doing.
That's great. Let's start off with, getting to know your personal view about genetics and how genetics can impact a person's health. And I asked this question, Michael, because years and years and years ago, when I was a medical student, we were taught that your genes were kind of set in stone. You got what you got. And we're starting to learn that that may not be the case, that they may be more of a blueprint. And that through nutrition and nutrients, it is possible to influence some of those genes and how they express. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I mean, everyone, people are right and wrong about all that, to be honest with you. But the emergence of genetics to see the blueprint of your biochemical pathways has really just taken shape. And what I mean by that is we've learned a lot about genetics, nutrigenomics, pharmacogenomics. We know that there's genes that you turn on and turn off. But really, as this field grows, the real exciting part is the epigenetic side of things. What are you doing nutritionally to overcome some of these variants? And that's where we can really manipulate the outcomes of a healthier, longer life.
Yeah, and so let's maybe pause for a moment before we get into this too much. And can you just give us high-level definitions of some of the terms that you're introducing, probably for the first time to some of our listeners and our viewers, like the epigenetics? You kind of described that, but maybe give us a little more info on epigenetics and nutrigenomics and kind of
Sure.
the differences between the two.
Well, the field that we specialize in is nutrigenomics, which is the study of how natural supplementation works within your genetic pathways. For example, vitamin D. There's pathways looking at those particular receptors. How do you translate that into epigenetics? You then have to actually take a real vitamin D test to see if what you're doing is altering that side of things. So, are you getting out in the sun? Are you taking the right dosage of vitamin D so you're in the optimal area? And that is a little bit of the basic of epigenetics. You can modify things. So then you talk about pharmacogenomics and the study of how pharmaceuticals metabolize within your genetic pathways. And the best example to probably give you and some of the listeners is the pain industry. There's so many different kinds of pain drugs out there, but not all of them work the same way for the right person. So maybe tramadol is great for this patient, but not this patient. And so it's a really, really good test, but overlooked very much in the healthcare world right now.
Yeah, I love that idea that each, we forget that we are individual people, right? We have our individual makeup, our individual histories, both medical and genetic histories, and yet for so many years in medicine, at least in clinical medicine, we've been manufacturing drugs, even tests that kind of forget that everybody's going to respond a little bit differently, metabolize these drugs a little bit differently. And I think it's fantastic that we're bringing this now to the forefront. So what kinds of testing are available, and what information can we really learn from what's out there right now?
Sure. We are a direct-to-provider company, and so even though you have consumers listening, it's good to know what's available, obviously. We're looking at what's called methylation, the B vitamin pathways within your body. We're looking at neurotransmitters, mood, sleep, anxiety, mitochondrial function, not necessarily like energy you take from an energy drink or something like that, but cellular energy, how it's repaired, detoxification. Can your system actually process glutathione so when the foods you're eating that have toxins in it go through the pathways the right way? Or are you mutated in those areas? Do you need a little bit of help? So inflammatory is a big one. Do you get a big mosquito bite when you get bitten, or does it just okay? Well, maybe your IL receptors are mutated and there's ways to actually mitigate a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. Like, just to kind of bring it down a little bit for some of our listeners and patients I had in the past. Let's use the neurotransmitter as an example, right? We know that certain neurotransmitters, like serotonin, we know we want higher levels of serotonin. We know that that's a better mood, all that kind of stuff. That's well established. So if somebody were to take this test, and let's say they're healthy at this point, they're just interested, kind of where they're at with a lot of these markers. What if their serotonin level is a little bit low? What does that actually mean for that person when they're looking right at those results?
Well, when we're looking at the results, again, like we started out, it's a blueprint to say, hey, should I look at the serotonin, dopamine, and other things like that? It's just helping you get to the right pathway a little bit faster. Now, it's not actually doing the measurement of serotonin. So that is where this is more of a clinical utility tool for providers to say, okay, now I really need to go ahead and possibly get some labs drawn, some urine taken, things like that. So it helps them get to the core quicker. Or maybe there's some foods, there's some supplements that I can actually augment into your daily routine. So every one of these categories, should I say, and when I say categories meaning neurotransmitter and what we're talking about, it's a directional blueprint to help the provider pinpoint things quicker, not the actual result.
So in your opinion, do you find that that providers are now, since these can be given directly to the consumer, are they starting here, or do you find that people are kind of going through the motions and going through the ringer with this provider, that provider? They're having these symptoms. They're not quite getting the diagnosis. Are people where do you find that people are starting their journey of the personalized nutrition?
Well, unfortunately, I think they're starting from the standard practices not offering what really needs to help them in the spirit of personalized medicine or longevity. So then what happens is consumers will go to Dr. Google and they start researching. And so what we really like to do is send the message that start with a functional med, personalized provider type atmosphere, experts that are trained in what we do, so they can get on that pathway quicker and not go to 5 different kind of consumer companies. We have consumers all the time hitting our website, and what we do is we drive them to a company that we partner with, or a provider that we partner with that is trained in this. They watch our videos, they take our testing, things like that. So I don't discourage consumers to do their research, but certainly they're not going to get it from their standard care practice.
So let's stay on this line of questioning here. So there are a lot of tests that are coming out that are becoming more available, right? We get that. So what makes your test, your nutrigenomic panel unique, and how does it stand out from the growing field of testing options?
I'm so glad you asked that, partly because we are a heavily scienced and clinical utility-based company, meaning we have to have a solution for every gene SNP that we put in our panel. If we don't have a solution to give to the provider that will ultimately be given to the patient, we just don't put it in. And so there's new genes, new SNPs being identified, new research, new science, and as that grows, we keep adding to our panels. So the difference is many companies are just bringing awareness, while we're bringing awareness in a solution.
Yeah, so the awareness and the solution. So going to the awareness, do you find that just in the general population, there are certain, and you mentioned the SNPs, kind of these unique variations that seem to be more prevalent in the populations? Can you share some of those unique variations that are more common that nutritional approaches can address?
Sure. So it all really starts with MTHFR, methyl tetrahydrofolate, being such a our lights just went out in our lobby a little bit in our studio. You can still see me, but it starts there with being that MTHFR accounts for about 250 biochemical pathways within your body. If you kind of start looking there first, then it kind of translates into a lot of different areas of nutrigenomics. And you'll see influencers, you'll see functional med providers going, okay, we're going to look at your MTHFR first and start there. That will lead me down other places. Now, when you're looking at the consumer side of things, there are consumer trained individuals that are influencers that study the segment of methylation really, really well. And there's a lot of good they can do, but it's still, in my opinion, needs to be done with the experts and not necessarily someone that just picked up one piece of genetics.
Yep. And just to, the MTHFR, that is the enzyme that's activating your folate, right? Turning it into that active folate that controls neurotransmitter production, controls detox in the body, and so many other things. So I agree. I think that's a great place to start. And I know in certain populations, I've tested my own, and so my enzyme is not functioning at 100%. And so that has driven me to take the active form of folate. So I take the methyl form of folate, since I know, but my conversion my conversion is not 100%. What are some other ones?
Well, I would say the second largest one is centered around mental health. All your neurotransmitters for depression, anxiety, and mood. You're going to be wanting to look at those GAD genes and things like that are going to sort of help epigenetically make your decision on the right type of supplement in the right types of foods or to take or to not take. So neurotransmitters is probably, if not our second most popular panel, it's right up there.
Yeah, I think what I love about this field is so often you hear people say, it runs in my family. And it's almost as if it's, I don't want to say a cop out, but sometimes it's a cop out to, oh, I have this because, everyone in my family has dealt with this. And to know that you can analyze your genes and figure out maybe it is something that a variation in how you manage your food intake, your nutritional add-ins, and you can make a difference in a positive way.
Well, listen, we get one from mom and we get one from dad. So a lot of it is based on it's in my family. So in some cases, that's 100% the problem or the issue, not the problem. So yes, you get one gene from mom, one dad, and you get either a good one from mom or dad or a bad one from mom and dad. So it all starts with mom and dad and their mom and dad. So it is
right,
a lot of it's her.
Michael, I pulled up the test that actually Life Extension offers from you guys. By the way, listeners, if you want to check this out, you go to lifeextension.com/genetic test. And I just wanted to let people know, as I look at this, you're covering a lot of the basics. So our podcast, Mike, was called Live Forever-ish. We put the ish in there because for Dr. Crystal and I, it's not just more years. We want better years, healthier years, stronger years, vibrant, all that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, conventional medicine has helped us live longer, but is it vibrant years? I mean, if you just walk into any internal medicine office and see some of the people in there, they're in their 70s and 80s, but they can't get up out of the chair, by themselves. So we're all into this live forever-ish, healthy lifespan type stuff. And I just want our audience to know that you're covering all the bases that Dr. Crystal and I talk about. Again, the methylation is there. We've had podcasts on that. The neurotransmitter stuff is there. That's mood, cognition, all that kind of stuff. You got mitochondrial function. We've talked about mitochondrial decay as people get older and how to reverse that on many podcasts before. You got the detoxification. You got neuroinflammation. I mean, it's all there. And many of those topics are topics Dr. Crystal and I have gone over pretty extensively, when you say, Dr. Crystal, with our audience. So this is a great panel. If you're listening and you're one of our longtime listeners, this would be a great panel to check out. Again, that's at lifeextension.com/genetic test. So Michael, where do you think all this is going? Like, what's the future? What's 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Well, I worked in traditional medicine for well into almost 20 years with this hundreds of thousands of samples a day with my previous company. When building GX Sciences, I saw the movement of personalized medicine. Unfortunately, I haven't seen the movement of standard indemnity healthcare insurance accepting it, partly because it is science-based, but it's just not mainstream and not enough training in there. But the movement of personalized physicians and practitioners is the fastest growing movement. So as insurances are paying a little bit less and deductibles are a little bit higher, I see nothing but this kind of stuff growing and growing very rapidly. But the most important thing about it is that it's actually changing lives, so you're not actually reliant upon that insurance that you have to go every other month. This is trying to keep you out of the doctor's office or the hospital in certain senses. So I see this being just nothing but growth.
And I think I would comment or maybe ask, once you have analyzed your genes, you don't have to reanalyze it, right? It's
for the most part, yeah,
it's not going to change. So it certainly, I think it's worth the investment to kind of get that baseline view of who am I? If you're wondering who am I as an individual and what are some of the best things for me, then I think it's a great place to start.
Well, the fun genetics started first, the 23andMe's of the world and ancestral.coms and stuff like that. And that's all great information. But I call it fun genetics because it's fun to know. But these kind of targeted health related genetics are what's going to, like what Dr. Mike says, you're going to be 70 years old and out dancing. You're not going to be sitting in a wheelchair at 80 years old. You're going to be dancing and doing other things and hiking and, enjoying life. It's about extending life at a much healthier rate.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So how can some of our listeners learn a little bit more about your testing, even learn a little more about you, Michael? Where can they go?
Well, they're going to go to FagronGenomicsUS.com or GXSciences.com. And we encourage a lot of listeners. We get a lot of consumers going there, but we also like to tell them that we're not there to support them. We're there to support the provider that should be supporting them. So I guess I would challenge them to say, ask their family practitioner, ask their functional med provider, have you heard of this kind of testing and would you consider this kind of testing? Go here, sign up for an account, that kind of stuff. And through Life Extensions too. Life Extension has been a great partner. I see nothing but great things and even more advancement as we all grow.
Yep. And just to comment, Life Extension, we do have trained wellness specialists that can assist you with viewing your results and kind of helping to guide some of those decisions and partnering with your practitioner.
Yeah, they've been a great partner. They've done a lot of those. The wellness consultants have taken all of our training courses, and they jump in online and look at all the stuff that we have to offer. And then from there, usually folks like that start building some of their own expertise because of the clinical outcomes that they're seeing.
Fantastic. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for coming on. It was great information. We look forward to seeing where this is going to take us in the future. I know it's going to be pretty exciting, but I think this is a great start. Thanks for coming on today.
You're welcome. Very nice talking to you. Good luck. And
don't forget, listeners, you can go to lifeextension.com/genetic test. And you can check out this panel that we were talking about today with Michael Willoughby, who is the CEO and founder of Fagron Genomics. And don't forget, you can go to lifeextension.com and use the discount code podcast. And when you do that, you'll get 10% off $50 or more, plus free shipping and handling. That's at lifeextension.com. And then, of course, we got liveforeverish.com. That's where you can download, like, and share all kinds of podcasts. When you do, please subscribe so you never miss a show. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.